Hello everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome to my garage. Today's video is a pretty awesome one. I'm really excited to bring it to you and share you my experience on this journey that I took. This video is about a trip that I took from my home near Fredericksburg, Virginia to an area south of Greensboro, North Carolina on my 2022 Energica Ego. Not your typical touring bike, but a bike that I really enjoyed making this ride on. This ride was supposed to take about 9 hours or so, including all the charging stops, but unfortunately it took much longer than that. I found that one of the weaknesses of the Energica bikes is once you get some heat into this big battery, it's hard to get it out. So I'll go into more details later. I've prepared a spreadsheet with all the technical details, the peak charging at each stop, how long each stop took, and how much charge I was able to get. A lot of interesting details that I haven't seen anywhere about these bikes. I want to go into some further details about the luggage that I bought to attach to the bike. These are the Ogio, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, excuse me, the saddlebags and tail bags. They work together pretty well. I do have one complaint about them, and I'll show you that in closer detail. Here are the bags basically as they sit on the bike. I needed something that would fit had a universal fit, because nobody's going to make something specifically for this bike. They rode well. The one complaint that I had is whenever they get full and heavy, you can only carry so much in them. They start to drag. The bag here on the right actually drug so much that it contacted the tire. This is the damage to the bag after the entire trip, 650 miles. So it's not so bad that I was actually losing anything out of the luggage, but enough to cause concern. Overall, the bags did great. It held enough that I was able to bring all the essentials with me, plus a couple extra things. I think the solution would be if somebody out there can 3D print a piece to fit here that the bags could butt up against and I could attach to this tail piece. I think that would be a great solution. So let's get into the details here. So day one was riding from Fredericksburg to Greensboro, and then day two was riding back the opposite from Greensboro to Fredericksburg. So the total miles of the round trip was 642 miles. Day one, I started on the interstate for the first 2 charge stops, and then I learned my lesson, and I avoided highways from there on out. Day two, I just, when I entered my destination into Google Maps to get me from one charge point to the next, I just avoided highways altogether, and it seemed to work much better. Here shows my first 2 charging stops. From here in Fredericksburg down to the Walmart Supercenter in Richmond. I left very early in the morning from Fredericksburg thinking that I can get out, beat traffic, get some miles in, and have a good start to my trip. So I left very early, 2:45 a.m. And I'll show on the spreadsheet here, I did average over 60 miles an hour. And I'll attach a little clip which may or may not be me going at kitten speed on the interstate, trying to get to this charger as soon as possible. I pulled into the charger and I learned my first lesson of the day. The battery was yellow, which means it had a lot of heat in it already, and therefore I wasn't able to charge at quite the highest rate that I needed to, so therefore extended my charge time, and this kind of actually got the trip started out at a slower rate than I really wanted to. That first leg I averaged 230 watt hours per mile, which is really high considering the rest of the trip everywhere I averaged between 150 and 130. So you can see from that me trying to get some miles in and go at a higher rate of speed actually slowed me down because of the charging. Once I left Richmond Electrify America charger, my next point was Emporia, Virginia at another Electrify America charger. I really like the Electrify America chargers. These are probably the closest that you can get to being outside the Tesla ecosphere. They always have multiple chargers, 5 or 7 units with 2 chargers each, which means that a lot of people can charge at the same time. And even if you have a slow charger like my motorcycle, which can top out at 25 kilowatts, you can still pull your Taycan or whatever vehicle you have and charge it at 300 plus kilowatts if you're able to. On the highway heading down to Emporia, I found that I was not going to reach my destination. I'm still here figuring out that the interstate highway is probably not the best route to go a long distance on an electric motorcycle. So I stopped at this Loyalty Nissan. They were reported to have a DC fast charger there. So I stopped and I pulled in, and unfortunately the DC charger was only powered during business hours, and I think this was about 6 a.m. when I got there. So fortunately they did have level 2 chargers available, which I was able to use. I opened up the charging handle, and there must have been an ant's nest inside the charger. It was just red ants everywhere. So I was trying to knock it on the ground and knock all the ants off. But anyway, to make a long story short, this stop revealed one of the weaknesses of the Energica bikes. So, they're awesome. They have that 25 kilowatts available of DC fast charging, but they are limited on the AC charging, which I'm happy with that compromise in the overall picture of things. So at a level 2 charger, the maximum that you can get is 3 kilowatts, which is really slow in comparison to many level 2 chargers are 7 or 10, 11 kilowatts maximum. So needless to say, I was here at this charging point for quite some time and getting only a small amount of charge. The ride home was great. As described yesterday, I did stick to the back roads and didn't take the interstate, and it made for a very nice ride. I did find one of my new favorite chargers here, this charge point, and this is right close to Lake Gaskins, right across the street from the lake. There's a great little place to eat there, ice cream right across the street, and it was one of the best stops I've had. Also on the way home, I was able to go across the Benjamin Harrison Memorial Bridge that spans the James River near Hopewell, Virginia. It carries traffic on State Route 156. So this bridge is really interesting to me since it is actually playing a key role in saving the peregrine falcon from extinction. The peregrine falcon is the fastest member of the animal kingdom. It carries this record, being clocked at 242 miles per hour while diving to hunt its prey. The breeding pairs homed on this bridge represent 30% of the Virginia population, having recovered from basically zero in the eastern U.S. in the 1970s. Overall, this was a very enjoyable trip. Down here, I can kind of have my total shown. The total trip was 642 miles, and it was a total of 23.42 hours of riding, and the charging cost was a total of $34.11. So I like to compare it to my old bike, a GSXR 750, which is reportedly has 36 miles per gallon, which I think is pretty generous. So let's say we'll give them that, and it would have cost me almost $80 had I ridden my old bike to do this same journey. But a couple takeaways were, I really wasn't uncomfortable riding all day. To me, that riding position is not too bad as far as my back, and I was able to move around. The charging stops helped out a lot. I had a folding chair with me. I was able to pull that out and find a nice shady spot and relax while the bike was charging. And cruise control was just huge. This is the very first bike that I've had with this feature, and I'll never be without it again. I was very much able to set a speed, not have to worry about getting a ticket, and just kind of relax my wrist and cramped up. So I do have several more trips planned, bigger, better, and I'm very excited about making those journeys, and I'm very excited about sharing those with you all. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching today.